decentralized approach, what are the issues. We are probably somewhere here, almost the left hand bottom corner, okay, and we believe that what we have to do is to increase the coordination effort. We do not want to have a completely centralized approach, so we want to take this from here to somewhere there. So we do want to have a very high degree of basin planning approach, yet we do not want to centralize. Okay? So we want to keep it somewhere in between, not completely centralized. Whatever the states and the local communities and this thing, they should be powered, they should be doing their job, right? But there should be a kind of coordination so that the things move in an integrated way. So given this, we are saying that if you want to have the Ganga River Basin Management Plan, okay, what our plan will be, this is what I have been saying earlier also. Typically our plan will say, in order to maintain and develop the basin in an integrated way, what we may have to do is, we may have to prohibit certain kind of activities, and we may have to restrict certain kind of activities in the basin, and we may have to promote certain kind of activities. We will not list, the time is not enough to list those things, but those are details are available elsewhere, and we may share that. So I have shared this with the panelists, okay, our initial, this list of activities which needs to be prohibited, restricted and promoted. Okay. And what we feel that the effective implementation of this can only happen if we have a act like National River Ganga Basin Management Act. This is what we are going to deliberate on. Okay. And to implement that act, we need some agency. Okay. And this is where this is our initial thought. We are also saying that from this act, we may also establish what we call it as Management Commission, National River Ganga Basin Management Commission, which will do the job of various things. I think I will not put this. We need all these kind of things, knowledge, information, data. We need coordination and advice. We need investigation. We need public interface. And we need education, right? Now for all this, we require resources. And as I said, this commission is not going to have an executive role. The executive role will still be with whatever agencies that they are doing, and our ideal way of looking at it is it should be with the communities and local people. They should have the responsibilities and roles appropriately given to them. So the commission that we are talking about is essentially a non-executive. They will not execute any project, neither they will sanction any project, okay? But they will have a role in some way or the other, which the panelist will actually elaborate upon. I do not, neither I am an expert, so I do not want to venture into that. We need intellectual capital and finances for that. And what we are saying is the intellectual capital will be given by the IITs, okay, as a first some set, and this is what we call it as seed from IIT consortia, okay. Whatever information that is available from all the sources, we'll try to collect, put it together, analyze it, and that will be a kind of seed that may be given to this commission, and then that commission over the next 15 years, 20 years can grow this into a big tree. That is what is area. And financial resources also, you want that this particular commission should be kind of completely free from the government, dependence on the government. So initial some seed can come from the central government, but eventually, even financially, this commission should be completely independent. Only then this will be effective. Okay. So what we have done is we have done the mapping of the legislations. We have looked at the desirability of a comprehensive legislation on management of National River Ganga Basin. We have also looked at whether the center has powers to legislate on such kind of issues or not. Okay? So legislative competence to enact a law on management of national and about the new legislation itself. So these are the background papers we already have. And the discussion points are, do we need such a kind of comprehensive legislation? The constitutional mandate, look at whether the center, what power center has, what power states have, and who can and how this can be enacted. And the proposed legislation framework, the authority and the autonomy of the commission, that you're talking. The preventive precautionary action, like we said, we have to have prohibition of certain activities, restriction, regulation, and things like that. So those things, and nature of liability and ensuring compliance of order, that is another issue. If commission gives some order, right, and if somebody does not comply it, what the commission can do. Okay, so these are some of the doubts and clarity we need, and this I will leave it to the panelists. So now I hand over to Dr. Indrajit Dubey and request him to first introduce the panelists and then set the tone for the discussion.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning to everybody. First, let me introduce myself and our esteemed panel today. And Professor Tare already set the ball rolling. He has fixed the tune of the discussion today. Myself, Indrajit Dubey, teaching in IIT Kharagpur. And my area of expertise is institution and the governance. With us today, Dr. Uday Shankar. He is very young and noted academician in the area of constitutional law, and he has made a lot of contribution in the development of this particular legislation. Let me inform you, we have a 3-member team in IIT Kharagpur. Myself, Dr. Uday Shankar and Dr. Deepa Dubey, who has actually initiated and instrumental in drafting this particular act with the help of Professor Tare and all other team member, Professor Bose and everybody. Because this legislation is not simply an act, but there is a lot of technical input is required in this particular legislation to be a more effective legislation and which can be effective in this manner. We have Dr. M.C. Mehta. He is very well-known lawyers and possibly Indian jurisprudence on environmental law has been established through his litigation only. So we are great honor that we have got his consent and he is here today to talk with you. Then Dr. Rajendra Singh, he is quite a well-known person. He is yesterday you have seen him, and he has done a remarkable job in the water and river reforms. With us, Honorable Justice A.K. Ganguly. Justice Ganguly is a former judge of Supreme Court of India, and possibly you are all aware of the fact that Justice Ganguly passed a lot of landmark judgment in his tenure in High Courts and Supreme Court, and which created a benchmark into the country. So we have a very esteemed panel and a vibrant panel. I will request to the panel to concentrate their discussion into this discussion point which has been specified. There's a need of a comprehensive legislation on river basin, constitution mandate, center power and state power to pass this particular legislation, the proposed legislation frame and the outreach, how far it has been construed and what are the area we require to add or delete, the nature of National River Ganga Basin Authority and their autonomy. So we are talking about the Ganga Basin Commission, actually what Professor Tare proposed, and then preventive and precautionary action which has been talked within this framework of the legislation, and the nature of the liability for ensuring the compliance of the order of this particular commission. So I will request all the panelists to spend 8 minutes in the first round, then we'll come back to all other panelists on the specific issues, and there will be, floor will be open for a discussion on the questions or whatever the suggestion it comes from the floor. So may I request now Dr. Uday Shankar to start the discussion, please.
Thanks to the chair, Professor Dubey, and good morning to all. We have been involved in drafting this new law on National River Ganga Basin Management Plan. When we started working on this management plan, we come across with this position that we have plethora of laws, enacted by provinces and the central government. But unfortunately, none of the existing laws deal intensively and on a very precise issue of river basin management. And though we had policies, and policies are there, by the government, but we are of the opinion that policy science of legal structure gives a very negotiable status to any issue, and particularly the preservation of Ganga and river basin requires legal status and legal protection. The reason being that the position where Ganga has come now, it is threatening the very survival of human civilization. And we need to be very focused in our approach. And when we decide to have a very focused approach, we need to go beyond this traffic signal approach, where it's like stop, look and go, and then again stop, look and go. We need a kind of highway approach where there should be a framework and all the stakeholders are duty bound to follow that approach. And that's exactly what we thought of coming up with this legislation, moving beyond this traffic signal approach where Ganga Action Plan 1, Ganga Action Plan 2, Ganga Action Plan 3. In this way, the government keep on, making the plan and keep on, just formulating the policies, and nothing will happen, on the ground. And therefore, against this background, we thought of, drafting a law which is going to not only talk about Ganga River, but river basin as such, because any talk about Ganga River must bring within its fold river basin also. When we looked at the constitution, to our surprise, we found that there is a explicit provision which confers competence upon the central government to enact a law on this subject. And unfortunately, after 65 years of independence, this provision has not been given effect. And that is when we read entry 56, which talks about regulation and development of interstate river. Ganga is interstate river, there is no dispute about the same. And it talks about regulation and development, which can be given a meaning of utilization of water also in interstate river, allocation of water also in interstate river, and somehow the reasons well known to the government, or it's very difficult to find out that why entry 56 was not yet invoked. And therefore, we are of the opinion that reading of entry 246, which talks about conferment of jurisdiction upon the central government or the state government to enact a law on the basis of distribution of subjects in the 7th schedule. And when we read 246 clause 1, which talks about competence to the central government, and when we read entry 56 of list 1 of the 7th schedule, we find that central government has competence to make law. And even if in the process of enactment of the law, even if the law incidentally encroaches upon any of the issues which are there within the state domain. For example, as we know, irrigation is one subject which is within the state competence. Agriculture is another domain which is within the state competence. But such kind of, if this law is proposing only to manage Ganga River and river basin. And in that process, if it incidentally encroaches upon these issues of agriculture or irrigation, I am of the opinion, or those who are involved in drafting this law is of the opinion that such incidental encroachment is not going to declare the law ultra vires or unconstitutional or beyond the competence of the central government. Now with this, what we thought that we should have a comprehensive law detailing out not only what is to be done on Ganga River or river basin, but also to establish an institution which should be responsible for implementing the act. And therefore, in this structure, what we thought is that law must talk about certain activities which are completely prohibited, which has been damaging Ganga River and river basin till now. It should be completely banned. Then there are certain activities which should be restricted, where permission should be taken, and all these details are worked out with input from scientific community. So that's this proposed legislation stands differently from other many legislations which are there, because it has got a kind of combination of both legal mind as well as scientific mind, wherein the details are to be given in the law so that